Alright, gonna do a quick rundown of the Archmage Vortex of Projection Hierophant starter build. If you are familiar with the Hierophant Archmage builds from last league from Settlers, the Ball Lightning or the Ice Nova, it's very similar. It's essentially just a new take on the same build. And if you want a little bit more info on kind of Vortex of Projection and why and how it functions, I did cover it for a bit in my last video, kind of the mechanics of it. But all you need to know is it's another Hierophant build. Hierophant is getting nerfed, changed. We've accounted for all that stuff, and yeah, so just want to go over the setup itself. You can see the passive tree here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. It's just Archmage things where you get a lot of mana, you get some, cast speed damage, whatever you can. The previous variants of this, like that I played last week, Ball Lightning, some of the changes for like a starter setup would have been you wouldn't have these nodes and you wouldn't have tireless, and instead you would be over here grabbing leech for the instant leech, and you'd be grabbing conjured berry to get full stun immunity while casting, and more importantly this lucky suppression node. So thought process is essentially leech mastery is nerfed, and also the leech instant leech is probably not quite as potent on something like Vortex as it was on Ball Lightning. And I don't think you'll really need this 100% stun immunity while casting, especially because Ball Lightning, its whole thing was it had to get right in melee range to fight enemies, so it was a lot more important. But on top of that, we are kind of assuming that you need a bit more like reduced cost help with your mana costs because of the Hierophant changes. So tireless becomes really important because this cluster has 15% reduced cost. And then if you're dropping all those nodes, you need to get some suppression somewhere. And it would be over here that you're going to get it. And I mean, these are just good anyway. Like if you are ultimately going for trying to get like max suppression chance, right? That is a thing that you want. And you would eventually go here anyway and ditch the lucky suppression even on the older setup. But yeah, some of the tree stuff is still like it's gonna be very subject to change on league start. Like maybe we'll decide, oh crap, we do really want that instant leech, and we'll have to rework it. Or maybe the top tree will get changed. There's still some changes to the top of the tree that are supposed to be happening that we don't know about, which could shake things up. Just remember that as well. But yeah, and then on the Hierophant side, nothing's changing over here. You're still taking Sanctuary of Thought. It's losing the less mana cost of skills, and it's gaining 1% base mana regen. It's also losing the reservation efficiency part, but we don't care about that on this build. 1% base mana regen per second is like roughly 55% more mana regen because the normal base regen rate is 1.8, so it would be going all the way up to 2.8. So it is quite a lot of mana regen, but your skills are costing double damage, which again, like it's in here somewhere. There's a lot of random config stuff that has to be done to simulate some of the changes. Yeah, that's the passive tree. As far as the skills go, again, there's going to be some wiggle room here. We're using Vortex of Projection. That's our 6 link. It detonates frost bolts, so we need frost bolts to blow up for it. And basically just spams a bunch of big AoE hits. You need Archmage. Spell Echo could be replaced with Unleash, and I think maybe particularly early on, it might be really nice to run Unleash when your cast speed isn't as high. We'll have to see. I'm going to do some test runs probably to check things like that out. And then one of the new things is Arcane Surge support is going to be much better as just a multiplier in terms of the support gem itself. Like it's going to give 35% more as support, which is great. And then the next thing I have here is Frost Shield, Sigil of Power, more duration. Frost Shield, Sigil of Power are both really good. They give you like some defense value, and then also Sigil of Power gives you some damage or duration, so you don't have to cast them as much on the boss. If you're really starved on sockets, you could drop the more duration gem for something else. It's not entirely mandatory, but those two gems are really good. On this one, I've got the Eternal Blessing, and then a whole bunch of auras, kind of showing which ones you could pick from. Grace, Wrath, Haste. Grace defense, obviously. Wrath, pure DPS, and then Haste is like clear speed. As well as Punishment and Ellie weakness. Previously, Punishment was just kind of better, you didn't care that much about lowering their resistances because of the elemental mastery that says 25% chance to treat their resistance as inverted. However, that's getting nerfed down to 15%, which I don't have that mastery clicked because I'm simulating the nerfed version in the custom mods. So I checked the numbers. LE weakness and punishment actually end up being pretty similar in terms of how much DPS they are worth. Punishment has a thing where it's only active once they go to low life, and it has debilitate. Punishment's maybe just still better because the debilitate effect is really nice, honestly. But I'm using LE weakness in the POB since it's consistently some amount of DPS. It's better for like displaying um, a DPS number for POB. That's kind of the only reason that I've clicked that one on instead. And then we have our Arcane Cloak, which used to be a 4-link because you would put your level 20 Arcane Surge in there. Don't need it anymore because we're going to... Well, one, I don't think it just matters if the gem's leveled or not. The only thing that the support gem scales off level is the damage multiplier. But we have it in our 6-link anyway, so we freed up a slot there. You could potentially use things like efficacy or enhance for it to keep it back on a 4-link, but I think I would just keep it as a 3-link because that's letting me throw Frostblink into that empty slot, and then my Frostblink of Wintry Blast is a 4-link here, and you can pop Ice Bite onto it, which I didn't come up with. I saw Ben doing it in a practice run, and I said, oh, that's really good. Because my guy last league, I was running Blood Rage to get Frenzy charges, and I'm pretty sure I had a free socket open on my Frostblink of Wintry Blast. I was putting like item rarity in it or something. I guess I don't know. I was just strong at that point. Whatever. But no, Ice Bite's pretty sick because you're doing a lot of clearing with Frostblink of Wintry Blast, especially once you get powered up. This kills like a lot of the just basic trash mobs, and so this will make it so. Well, one, it's kind of freezing some mobs, which is nice, but it's giving you frenzy charges while you're clearing, which is fantastic. Very cool. And yeah, obviously it's linked to Archmage because it's doing a good chunk of damage to trash mobs. And then we have the Frostbolt, which again we need for the Vortex. It's the combo. The general purpose setup I think will look like this: Frostbolt, slower proj, greater volley, unleash. If your cast speed isn't quite as high, or you don't want the slower proj is for like maximum DPS. You could take this out. You could replace it with. I mean, you could replace it with faster proj if you just want to cover a crazy wide area with explosions, but it's not going to be as much overlap. You could replace it with faster casting if you want to get this cast out a little bit quicker for clear purposes. There's some options there. There's some things to play with depending on the situation. But then also Unleash can be swapped for Arcanist brand for like tougher, tankier, bigger bosses. Where now you can just drop the brand on a boss once every 4 seconds or however long it's going to stay attached for. And then you just spam away until you need to redrop a new brand. And those are the gems. That's the whole setup. As far as the items are concerned, I think almost every one of these items is just I copied it from my ball lightning guy from last league, but it's the right stuff still. Like you want cast speed based wands with cast speed and mana and spell damage, and then maybe you can get double damage crafts on them as well. Very good. I took Mind Spiral off. I think I had that on my last one. If you are doing this setup of suppression nodes and you want to click the evasion master, you can't run Mind Spiral. If you found one early, you would totally put it on. Sure, just it gives so much defense, but eventually once you try to actually get to 100 suppression, you're gonna need to wear a like actual helmet, which is fine. Still get plenty of stats. Body armor, you just want a really high DS evasion chest. This thing's listed on a sadist garb with really high rolls, but I guess realistically it'd be the necrotic armor, the newer bases. I think I had this, I guess, before some of those bases were shown, but so some of the stats could be even higher. Implicits on the body armor could change too. I think it's the fizz taken as lightning can be mana recovery rate instead. One of them could be mana recovery rate. If it's like you feels like you're really rough on mana, that could be an option. But yeah, ideally you would get this with like a pretty good evasion ES roll. Ideally a little bit of mana. And like if possible suppression's fantastic. You're gonna need it on your chest eventually. If you like some amount, if you want to get to 100%. These builds get really tanky. You can get pretty far in without ever getting to 100%. My character from last league had lucky suppression all the way up to level 100, and I killed like all the regular pinnacles. And I think I might have killed a couple of the Ubers. I did like T17 farming and all that, and I never had 100 suppression. I was like 50 plus lucky, so 75. So don't be too caught up in getting suppress capped. It is good, and it's something you would want eventually, especially if you're going to push Uber bosses. But yeah, you'll survive without it. Gloves, Algur Mortis. These are fantastic for this build, especially for like this setup in particular. Like every stat on them is nice. You get some extra ES, you get some res, you get chance to sap, which makes enemies deal less damage, and it's based off how much lightning you do. And we're Archmage, so we do tons of lightning. Enemies in your chilling areas take increased lightning damage. This goes all the way up to 35. Vortex, your main skill, creates chilling areas, and then even the increased effective non-damaging elements. This build is you are shocking with the gloves, you are sapping, and you are also chilling because the baseline cold damage of Vortex actually is enough to like get some decent sized chills on enemies. So you're getting better of all three with the ailment effect. And you'll see I also have some on these boots. Like I think ailment effect is going to be a really good stat here for the build. Boots again, you know, life, mana, speed, suppression, whatever. Ailment effect craft, good. And then the implicits on the boots, I don't know, they don't matter too much. Action speed, nice, I guess. The eater ones, it was like either I was looking at either CDR or I don't even remember. There just wasn't that much exciting stuff there for those ones. I put an Adzeri's Foible in here just because, you know, it's a fantastic item. You don't need this if you're playing SSF. You're probably not going to find it for a while. But if you can get it, it's really good. Otherwise, Rare Amulet, very helpful. Especially one with like a dex base, probably. Some sort of dex base is going to do you a lot of good because you'll need some amount of dexterity for your character to use some of the gems. Like if you want to run haste or grace, might just be those two that take a bunch, but you're probably going to be wanting to run one or both of those at different points in time. And then the rings, you're probably going to be looking for things like reduced mana cost craft available on them. So you're losing a little bit of mana compared to a big flat mana roll, but those reduced costs might be really important. We'll have to see again how it actually feels and plays out with the new Hierophant changes. Otherwise, like cast speed's really good, and you're gonna get your resists a bunch there, and then belt the same thing, just like lots of resists, life mana. Too crazy. And then yeah, I like running a mana flask on these builds. You're not gonna run like an eternal, enduring, whatever. You're not gonna run the one that makes it not turn off when it hits full, because then it's just giving you no mana. You kind of want to use it as a like reaction thing, and it's still not going to give you that much. Early on, it's more impactful. As you get higher total mana pool, it's less impactful. But it lets you get another like life mana flask suffix, so you can use it for like shock removal, like this one shows. And then other flasks, if you're running Grace, Jade Flask is fantastic. Quartz Flask is nice to help with suppression and then phasing for clear. I put Spell Leech as ES on this because we don't have it on the tree. This is again, I don't know. I'll have to play and see how it actually feels with it. Maybe we'll skip this entirely and just not even have any leech, because without the instant, it might just not be worth it. This could also be instead of a quartz flask, something like early on, especially like a granite flask might be pretty nice, even if you don't have any other armor scaling. And then one thing for this build in particular is you're generally seeing a silver flask instead of a quicksilver, because you are mostly moving around by spamming the Frostblink of Wintry Blast, which just doesn't have a cooldown. It's just spammable movement skill. So generally, you're not going to be running a Quicksilver. And I think that about covers everything. The total DPS with all of that stuff set up and everything, I've tried to keep it pretty fair. It's coming out to 14 million right now. This is with a Vortex of Protection set at a 5 count because it blows up 5 Frost Bolts. There is some amount of time that you have to spend recasting your, like on a big boss, your Frostbolt brand. So it wouldn't quite be this much DPS, even if you were standing still. It'd be somewhere in between 4 and 5. Probably closer to the like 13 point something. But like I've tried to keep it fair. Wands, you could have double damage while focused is really good. But I just put regular double damage for POB purposes. Sigil of Power, I put at 3 stages because maybe you're moving out before you get to 4, but that's a little bit more if you had turned that on. I think I was kind of conservative on the shocks. Like I'm trying to keep the POB reasonable, whatever. This does also, what is this? Oh, that just changes mana cost, right? Yeah. Pretty reasonable. Again, there's a bunch of random config stuff. It's all kind of tagged as why it's in there. And then I think in the notes section, I had like this POB after POB gets updated will kind of not make sense, and you'll have to remove the custom configs and change some stuff. It's like kind of on a timer before it gets weird for like specific numbers. Mostly the damage numbers could get altered by POB updating, but the setup wouldn't change. The setup's still the same setup. And this is what, a level 92? It's actually level 93, I think. Or I might have forgotten to put a point back in when I clicked the pointer, and I'll have to go check that afterwards, and I'll have the POB posted. But one thing that's not clicked is this mastery, which you would have. So it's whatever this level is -1. And you'll probably spend some amount of points using those new rune graphs for some of these like empty masteries. We just don't know what they all are yet and what you would be putting there, so be ready for those, I guess. And that's about it. Yeah, that's the build. Should be very good. Should be a very safe starter. You can play it very much SSF, and it'll get you up to like definitely all the way up to Uber Pinnacles, and then if you farm some gear, you can even should be able to even do the Uber Pinnacles, because this character should be very close in power to what Ice Nova is this league, and Ice Nova has been shown to be able to do everything. I think it ends up a little bit shy of where current Ice Nova is, but Ice Nova is getting like turbo nerfed. Yeah, so this one's a good one. And that's build. That's the build. Hope video was helpful. Thank you for watching. See ya.